Coming up in tonight's show, Martin's journey, how I've got on this week with my own personal weight loss, and our topic of the week as chosen by you guys, something that we can discuss and I can advise to help you on your weight loss or weight maintenance journey. Make sure you've eaten before this next section, because this is guaranteed to get your taste buds tingling. Get your pen and paper at the ready, because it is our low-calorie recipe of the week. And finally, a little bit of a taster of what is coming up next week. So without further ado, it is time for this week's Mondays with Martin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's episode of Mondays with Martin. It's Monday night. I almost said it's Tuesday night. It's Monday night. How are we all doing tonight, guys? So, I've got a banger for you for tonight. Fantastic topic, which I hope is going to be very useful to you guys. And also, tonight, for the first time ever, we are live over on YouTube, and Mondays with Martin will be streamed now live on YouTube as well as over here. That's mainly a cheat thing from me, so that it's already uploaded to YouTube, so I don't have to try and faff about, because for some reason YouTube keeps deleting my uploads. How are we all doing? So, Lindsay, thank you very much for the like. Charmaine, thank you very much for the like. And before I carry on talking, can we all hear me? Yes, because that's happened before, hasn't it? Hey, Linz. Vanessa, thank you very much for the emojis up on the stream. So, first things first is Martin's journey. That was good timing. So this week, I have lost £3. Oh, my button's not working. So yes, this week I have lost £3. So I'm very, very happy with that. Good week on plan. Now, don't know if you saw earlier on, but in the week, Vanessa and me behind the camera, but Vanessa and I did a live stream of an unboxing of our prize, because we won one of the live learning live challenges, and we got a new blender. And you know what I'm like with new things. I'm like a massive big kid, so I had to use it, which actually did really, really well at keeping me on plan this week, because I'm loving this new blender. Sam, thank you very much for coming in with the reaction there, dude. Yep, Charmaine has reached her 1 stone loss as well, so she's got a 1 stone award. And Sam is just £1.25 pounds away from his 1 stone award as well. So we got a lot of losers in here, but losers in the good sense. So, is the blender shiny? It's not shiny. It's white and black, and it's got 1-to-1 on it. But it was new, and I wanted to use it. So, you know, if a new blender keeps me on plan, then why not? And I mean, that doesn't, I guess, because Vanessa's watching, so I'm guessing that means that every time I start going wayward, I can't get a new blender. But, you know, I do have an announcement to do at the end of tonight's episode as well. So make sure you stay tuned. So we've got a banging topic coming up, which is dieter behaviours. Now, I'd had a whole thing planned out, but actually there is so much information here. This is going to be over the next few episodes. So tonight I am concentrating on dieter behaviours, and then again at the end of the stream, I will be giving you next week's topic, etc., etc. So, yes. But yeah, so I've been very good on plan. I've done really well. I have stayed away from going on to the bad habits of, stopping off for the naughty food after every single gig, which is somewhere where I tend to go sometimes. No, but to be fair, we've just bought a few as gifts. Lol. Yes, I was telling Sam about that earlier on our catch-up call this morning. And yeah, was telling him that I might end up pinching one. But we'll get into that later. So, guys, we have got quite a bit to fill tonight with this And I had done some pretty slides. I'd done some gorgeous little slides to go along with tonight's topic. And unfortunately, when I uploaded them into the software, they pixelated and blurred. So you are going to see me looking down at my extensive research notes. It's not blank, see, here, that I have written out about tonight's topic. So, what were lovely? I'm getting confuddled here already. We're only 5 minutes into the stream and I'm already confused. What was lovely? Yes, so, first things first. Topic of the week. Yes, our topic of the week. Can you tell I did the voiceover? Oh, the slides were lovely. Thanks. Yeah. See, this is where my head goes. Not concentrating. I say stuff and it disappears out my head straight away. You know. Yeah. The slides were lovely. All right. Beautiful slides, but they're not here. I wonder. No, I can't. Damn it. Okay, so anyway, topic of the week. So dieter behaviours. So on the agenda for this topic, and I'm going to talk a lot. I will try and keep up with your comments. If you've got questions, I will do my best to answer them. But a lot of this research has been done today as well, so bear with me. But yeah, so the agenda is dieter behaviours and the relationship with food and the brain, the gut, and the hunger hormones that all coincide and the reason that we have the feelings that we do when it comes around food. So, a lot of this, as I've said before, we did over the last week of the Easter break, we had learning live. And so we have a lot of training sessions that constantly go on to keep us fresh with what goes on in the nutritional world when it comes to helping you guys as dieters. So one of these was with our top commercial nutritionist, Mark Gilbert, who's got, and this is where I've got a lot of this information from. Okay, so this is dieter behaviors. So, you know, what makes us eat, basically. Let me just move that book because I'm going to knock it off in a minute. So, what makes us eat? And there are really only two things, and those are the physical aspect and then the psychological aspect. So, so when it comes to like the physical aspect, this is something that you actually feel. So when you're getting, you know, you get those stomach cramps or hot sweats and stuff like that, it is the hunger is a physical feeling, okay? And then when you come to the psychological aspect of it, this is like, if for argument's sake, you say you see a advert on the TV or a billboard or something with food on, this then triggers your appetite, which could also be called your cravings, okay? So there's a big difference between hunger, which is your physical, oh my God, I'm feeling hungry, my stomach hurts, my stomach's growling, or you feel weak due to hunger, hot sweats. And then there's the psychological aspect, which is you're driving past something, you see food on a billboard or the advert comes on and it sparks you, oh, I want that. That's your craving or your appetite. So I've lost, I need a ruler or something to see where I am, right? So the physical hunger is involuntary. We're not in control of it. You actually feel it is when, like I said, your stomach grumbles. It's when your stomach feels empty, maybe even cold sweats, or you feel you have low sugar levels. So, and these are all the physical aspects. So this is hunger. The actual physical side of it is hunger. No, most people will use hunger and appetite interchangeably, okay? But if we then think of appetite, which is your cravings, it's actually learned, and believe it or not, is actually learned before we are born, because the foods our mothers eat are fed through the placenta, and we can actually taste them a bit, smell them a bit, and this can actually influence what we eat many, many years later on, because we've already got that taste for it. It already creates them cravings. The smells already create those cravings. So it's learned, and as we all know with appetite and cravings, it can very well be triggered, like I said, with smells or just the sight of something. Now, one of our evil triggers, unfortunately, on this, when it comes to our appetite, is boredom. And quite often, we will find ourselves wandering around to see, what we have in the fridge or in the cupboards. Even when we're not physically hungry, we will just be finding something to eat. Another thing of this is tiredness as well. If you're feeling tired, you do tend to, and I know I'm one specifically, I know my mum's one. When we're feeling tired, we tend to turn to food, because one of this is another trigger from ghrelin, the hormone that I've discussed before. I will be discussing it again a little bit tonight. Is because it's telling you need something to keep yourself. If you're going to stay awake, I need some energy to keep myself awake. Okay, so hunger is what we eat and how much we eat generally. So if we think about what you eat and how that can affect hunger, protein, water, and often fiber are what tend to keep us feeling fuller for longer compared to other foods. So if you want to, if you emphasize protein in your diet, okay, if you find yourself being hungry a lot, a higher percentage of protein will decrease your hunger feeling. So, and so will water in some cases, but you really don't need to be going over 2.25 liters unless it's recommended, or unless you're exercising, or it's really hot conditions. Or advised by either your GP or us. I often get tired hungry as well as sad hungry. Yes, I'll be covering emotional eating in a little bit as well. But hunger from tiredness, mainly that's your again, like I say, your boredom factor. Emotional eating is another thing in itself, from what I've done the research on here. So whilst it does form around appetite, it is also formed around a chemical reaction, but I'll go through that a little bit later on. So the things that we want to keep away from, that will stimulate hunger, or we think stimulate hunger in a lot of people, is sugar, obviously, processed starches, processed oils. All of these things are bad for the hunger response. They don't actually trigger, because there's lack of nutrient in that. It doesn't actually trigger the leptin to tell your body that you are full. It triggers the ghrelin more to tell you to eat more of it. It triggers that appetite, and it triggers that craving. So these things essentially aren't that good for curbing your hunger. So if you to expand on this a little bit, if you're sat and your stomach's growling and you feel the cramping and the pains with it, and you go and grab a really sugary treat, something to eat, I don't know, say popcorn or something like that, this won't actually suffice your hunger. This will actually increase your it'll increase your appetite. So you won't get the right chemical reaction from your gut to your brain, which again I'll touch on later, telling you that you have consumed nutrient-rich food. It will actually, the sugars in it will actually trigger the appetite and the cravings, telling you to give it more, which can be detrimental to our weight loss. Another thing to bear in mind is don't drink your calories. So milk would be a good thing to drink. Obviously, if you're following our plans, if you're on the highest steps, milk's a good thing to drink if you're going to drink your calories. And obviously, our products like our shakes and our smoothies and that, they're fine to eat, because then they're dense in nutrients. I'm just tripping up over my words. But don't drink fruit juices, because fruit juices are too concentrated. So you're really not getting that much in the way of nutritional value from that. So we should think also about our serving sizes, and always predetermine how much we're going to have. Right. So like sometimes I do batch cooking, and I do big, like when I do my videos for you guys, I do quite a big portion. So that I will dish up the portion, which is one portion size, put the rest in a Tupperware container or a plastic tub, and I'll put it away. I will cool it. I'll put it in the fridge, out of sight, so that you are not, you don't get that trigger of appetite to go back and eat it again. Okay. Put things away after dishing it up, like I've just said, to deter you from going back for more. And most importantly, plan, and I say this near enough every week, plan what you are going to eat. Especially if you know that you're going to be going out, and more importantly, is if you know that you're going to be somewhere where you don't have access to healthy foods, you can make sure that you do. So you can make sure that if you're on products, you can make sure that you take a product with you. Or if you're on a higher step with us, you could prepare yourself a healthy salad or a healthy, balanced meal to take out with you. I like milk with tea. Now, you'd have to take that into your allowance if you're on a higher step. So always be prepared, because then when stuff does crop up, at least you are still in control and you're still able to stick to your plan. And always ensure you eat slowly, okay? If you eat quickly, your hunger response, the thing that turns off your hunger, the thing that tells our brain we've had enough, all the different chemicals and hormones in your stomach, they won't have time to be triggered. And if they don't get triggered, you'll just keep eating and eating until eventually they are triggered. And this is normally when we've overfaced ourselves and we've eaten too much and they get triggered. And then we get to that point where we are too full. So if you eat slower, it will take longer to fill you up. And therefore it will actually trigger the hormones and the chemical response sooner. Meaning that you're going to consume less and therefore not consume the extra calories that you don't need. And it then becomes more about sufficing your hunger rather than triggering your appetite. So, oh God. So if we now look at appetite is more of when, why, and where you eat. So again, I have mentioned boredom, but as for when, sometimes we get into habits of having a snack at certain times. And sometimes this is between breakfast and lunch, between lunch and dinner, between, just before we go to bed. For me, it's gaming, or maybe before bed. I get into a bad habit when I'm gaming of wanting to snack all the time. This is just habit and appetite as opposed to actually being hungry. So, and again, coming home from gigs as well, a lot of the time, it's not that I'm physically hungry. This comes down to appetite and habit, because it's something I've done over the last 18 years. It becomes a habit, and it's that appetite trigger. Oh, I finished a gig. Now let's go get food. I'm not actually hungry. So it's a bad habit that we've gotten into. Why we eat? Sometimes it's because it's just there. It could be as simple as that. It could just literally be, it is there, so I am going to eat it. Someone told me last week, if it's not in the house, I don't need it. But if it's there, I will eat it all. So what he was saying was, they sometimes get biscuits and stuff in for their grandkids. And he's like, if they're not in the house, I won't eat them. But when we've got them in for the grandkids and I know they're there, I will go and I will grab a handful and I will eat them. I used to eat absent-minded when at my desk. Not anymore, though. Yeah, that's exactly it. Just sit there picking and picking and picking. God, I think my hay fever's playing up. Sorry. And then there's the where you eat. So, which is important, because you find, and this is going into what we've just said, you find yourself in different situations. Okay, so like we've said, boredom, you sat at home, me gaming. But what about the situation it's someone's birthday and there's a birthday cake and everyone says, oh yeah, I'll have a piece of birthday cake, But if you have 2 birthdays or 3 birthdays that week, and that's your diet out the window, So these are what we call unexpected eating opportunities. That they do crop up and your appetite gets overly stimulated because the food is there or that trigger is there. So this is another thing about being planned. If you're going to know you got a birthday, it doesn't just crop up. Oh, hey, what happened? I'm at a birthday party. We know we're going to go, so plan it out. There's going to be party food. You're going to want to eat. So take a product with you, or take some healthy food with you rather than indulging. And you will overindulge at parties. We do, because it's normally a spread. It's normally buffet style. The food is there. Our hunger sufficed, but the food's there, so I'm going to carry on eating it. I know from personal experience that previously, when I would be going to birthday parties, I would stand at the buffet table. Do you want a plate? Nah, mate, I'll just stand here. And it's really bad, and it's grazing, and it's overindulging, and you don't need it. This may then cause you to eat regularly throughout the rest of the day, because you've been grazing and you've sparked that appetite, the chemical reaction for appetite and craving. That then gets stronger as the day goes on, and our body then produces that hormone more, and we end up grazing throughout the day, and we don't then realize how much we have eaten. So obviously this then causes us to eat unplanned food, and the key is to not eat unplanned food. So plan your day out. If you know when you're going to go to a birthday party, so make sure you're planned out. So that is that's the difference between hunger and appetite. Okay, so it's like when quite often there's saying, isn't there? Oh, they've got a big appetite. That's not to be confused with hunger. So if they're hungry, oh, do me a massive plateful because I've got a big appetite. That's precisely it. You have a big appetite. So if you slow down what you are eating to suffice your hunger, you will therefore reduce your appetite down. I'm thankful my emotional hunger is better under control now. So it's hard to keep track what you're eating in total when grazing. I've been terrible for it for years. I'm thankful my emotional hunger is better under control now. So, which is really good, because I'm about to go into now stress and emotional eating. Okay. So there is good evidence that negative mood and stress can lead to emotional eating. And some studies have shown that negative mood or stress eating can possibly be a bigger risk factor for gaining weight than not exercising and having a poor quality diet. So I've written that down a bit backward. So by emotional and stress eating is more detrimental to weight gain than having a bad diet or not exercising, to put that a bit more plain. Okay. So this is just as important as burning calories through exercise and eating a balanced diet of nutrient-dense foods. So I'm going to talk. I'll explain some things. So we have HPA and HPT. So HPA refers to the adrenal response. So this is adrenaline, your fight or flight response, things that make us anxious, etc. So HP stands for, and I've got to try and get this right because this is the scientific term, okay? So HP stands for hyperthermlactic pituitary. Yeah, easy for me to say. Okay, so this is parts of the brain that stimulate the adrenal. So, yeah, adrenal is fight or flight, and then, so that's HPA, okay? Then there is HPT, so it's the same part of your brain. It is still the hyperthermlactic pituitary, and this is thyroid. So it's the same part triggering, but it's triggering your thyroid this time around. And your thyroid, as most of us know, has an effect on your metabolic rate and how many calories that you can burn. Okay, I'm just checking my pages because I double-sided them and I don't normally do that. So these are two things which get stimulated, and sometimes in the wrong way. And sometimes, I'm going to say that a lot now, if they get triggered too often, you don't get the same response that could otherwise burn more calories. So overstimulating the HPA and the HPT response will actually make them less effective. So when people are stressed all the time, they may eat too much, or their metabolism is a little bit lower. So that's the HPA, the adrenal and the thyroid side of things, okay? And we know people with thyroid issues will have a slower metabolic rate, and therefore will actually lead to them losing weight slower. Okay, so let's look at your brain, gut, and hunger, the hormones, and the relation between them all. So this information is relatively new to research, and I'm saying in the last sort of like 10 years. So they didn't know this a little over 10 years ago, and that's that the bacteria in our gut actually sends little signals to the brain, and our brain ultimately decides whether our appetite or our hunger is going to be triggered. So our brain and our gut are constantly talking to each other and have a big influence on what we decide to eat. So depending on the chemical reaction as to what hormone is triggered depends on whether it's our appetite that is kicking in or whether we are actually hungry. Okay. So I had, this is kind of, this sentence is irrelevant because I had a slide for this. It was look at the axis. There's a complicated array of hormones, and a lot of which are produced in the gut, along with being produced in the brain. And they also get produced in fat tissue. About 20 years ago, scientists and research believed fat was just tissue that we carry around in case we needed extra energy to burn. In actual fact, fat actually releases some of these hormones. And I'm going to go into these hormones in a little bit more detail. I'm not going to go into all of them, as there's over 30 hormones that our body releases that is all to do with hunger and appetite. But we're going to look at the main ones that you should be aware of. So the first one, there's GLP-1. Okay, so with this, there are a lot of new drugs coming out, weight loss drugs coming out. And this is semaglutide, okay, which is pharmaceutically named Ozempic and Wegovy. Ozempic is what they use for diabetics to help them lose weight, and Wegovy is essentially for weight loss. And basically, what this drug does is it mimics the effects of the GLP-1 hormone. And I'll talk about GLP-1 and what it does in a second. So then there's also ghrelin, which you've heard me discuss before, which affects our appetite. There's also then leptin. Again, I've spoke about leptin again before, which is in with our hunger. Okay. Then there's CCK, which is cholecticinin, which is cholecticinin. Okay, I've got to try and read all these scientific terms. I don't mind them half emojis. And this helps our digestion and reduces our appetite. So this hormone, known as CCK, is what actually helps our body to digest the food and reduces the cravings, okay? There's then PYY, which is peptide YY. This is made in our small intestine to, again, this reduces appetite and limits the amount of food intake. And then there's PP, which is pancreatic polypeptide, which is secreted in the endocrine pancreas, which regulates pancreatic secretion activities. And there are various, like I said, there's over 30 different hormones which our body produces, all tied in with hunger and appetite. Okay. The big one, which is actually at the top for whether it is hunger or appetite and helps regulate what we eat, is actually dopamine. Okay. So dopamine, this is an interesting one, as it can be triggered by sugars and other things like certain pleasure drugs such as cocaine or certain activities that we do. So dopamine is more about the expectation of pleasure than the actual pleasure itself. So it will peak just before you take that first bite of the pudding or that naughty treat or whatever you've been looking forward to having or doing. So it peaks just before, not during, and not after. It's an expectation hormone. So that drives you to want food or all kinds of things, whatever it may be, but sugar triggers it the most. Okay. So it's very much a motivator and very much implicated in the addictions that we have. And a lot of us have addictions to food. As humans, we have a healthy addiction for food for survival. That is a natural human instinct, is to have this food. But a lot of us have a much higher addiction to food, which doesn't do us any good. Okay. So dopamine is most definitely more of an... I said dopamine, not Doberman. What? Yeah, so dopamine is most certainly more an appetite trigger as opposed to hunger. So, you see it, you're like, I want it. It's going to be amazing. Okay, you're walking past that bakery, you see that giant cake, chocolate cake, and you're like, I've got to have that. That's your dopamine hit, the expectation of, my God, this is going to be good. And yeah, so that's your dopamine. Okay, let's go back now to what I said, the GLP-1, because this is quite in-depth. So the GLP-1 hormone, which is glucagon-like peptide 1. I said that right. So this hormone is this hormone and similar ones that are produced in our gut are what are triggered by the semaglutide drug. So that's the big weight loss drug that's out right now. Semaglutide is the actual name of the drug molecule, but then pharmaceuticals give them these posh names like whatever it was I mentioned earlier, because I've lost that page. Ozempic and Wegovy. They're just the pharmaceutical name for the drug, but semaglutide is the actual molecule. So the main thing that GLP-1 does is it lowers our appetite. And when you lower appetite, it lowers your sense of craving. Okay. Even people with strong willpower will still at some point need something to sometimes physically lower the appetite. So yeah, it doesn't matter how much willpower you have, and I'll come back to this a bit later on, but as much as lowering your appetite, you still need to get that to your norm, and you need to regulate it, if that makes sense. So GLP-1 is produced in the gut and stimulates the brain to control food intake and energy balance. It also slows digestion, so it will physically take longer for the food to actually get through the gut, and that triggers a response from the brain that your body will not be as hungry because it still has food in the gut, so it prolongs when your body will want to next eat again. And GLP-1, so this is the one that suppresses our appetite, tells us that we're full, is actually much lower in obese people and people who have just started on a weight loss journey. So as you lose weight, your GLP-1 production level is lower, which makes it more difficult to not gain weight. So it makes it easier for us to gain weight, and it makes it harder for us to keep the weight off. It is, however, increased by exercise. So that's one of the reasons why exercise can help with weight maintenance, is because of the GLP-1. So whilst we say exercise won't help you lose weight, essentially, it helps with weight maintenance because it helps produce this GLP-1. So then leptin is another one of the main hormones which lowers our appetite. So always remember alpha leptin for lower. When they first discovered leptin, they thought, oh, great, we just need to give leptin to people and it'll make everybody thinner. It'll help them lose weight. But unfortunately, people who are overweight and especially obese don't respond to leptin, to the leptin signals. So the two main hormones which reduce appetite, most of the other 30 increase, but the two main ones that reduce appetite is GLP-1 and leptin. These are our reducers. Long-term weight loss actually lowers GLP-1, But again, exercise will increase it. So this is with the leptin. So long-term weight loss actually lowers leptin, but exercise again increases it. So it's all similar to the GLP-1. Okay. The next hormone is ghrelin hormone, and the way to remember this is ghrelin starts with a G, so ghrelin makes you gorge. It makes you eat more. This is an orexigenic. So we know that anorexia is where you don't want to eat. Orexigenic means you want to eat. So ghrelin does also increase the growth hormone. So it's associated with being leaner as well. So we don't want to completely eradicate ghrelin because it does have positive effects, but we don't want to overstimulate it. We don't want too much of it there because then that triggers our appetite. So ghrelin also changes with BMI and weight loss. And yeah, you guessed it, something that makes you hungry goes up when we lose weight. So unfortunately, our body is always trying to get us back to where we were. So what you want to do is get your weight loss, get the weight off, and make that your new norm. And then your body's not going to want to fight and create these chemicals to try and get us back to where we were. Another reason why the one-to-one support is proven to work, which I'll be touching on next week. So I'm going to kind of tied this up a little bit. If I put it all together to tide it up, because I've been rambling for a while now. The adrenal stress can get depressed. So adrenal stress, it can't actually be diagnosed by your doctor. It's more a long-term thing it's not understood, but it seems to be the case that your adrenal system doesn't work so well if it's overstimulated. Or if it's stimulated too often, and that may actually reduce your metabolic rate and make you more likely to eat. Okay, then there's the thyroid. Again, stress can affect your thyroid. It can reduce your thyroid levels, which again reduces your metabolic rate, again causing you to want to eat more. And then the big one at the top there for our appetite is dopamine. Wanting reward constantly all the time. So your dopamine is your expectation of pleasure, and you need to reward that with pleasure. So it's a reward seeking chemical. Okay. And that's why drug addicts, when they think about the drug that they're taking, will get a massive hit of dopamine. Then there's the GLP-1, which is affected by BMI and weight loss, as are leptin and ghrelin. So the more you lose weight, the lower your leptin and GLP-1 goes, the higher your ghrelin goes. So basically our bodies are big, I was going to say a bad word, but they're big, nasty people. Our body is nasty to us and is constantly fighting to get back to where we were. So by losing the weight, again, I say this, by losing the weight and keeping that as our new norm for our body, our levels of GLP-1 and leptin will start to increase again, and especially with exercise, and the ghrelin levels will come down again. So we will reduce that appetite craving down, and the hunger will be sufficed easier, rather than, oh my God, I'm hungry, I start eating food. By eating food, that's triggering the ghrelin and triggering our appetite, triggering that dopamine. Okay. Yeah. So, and these chemicals, like I've just said, they all go the wrong way when we're trying to lose weight, which is why gaining weight back is so easy to do and very, very hard to avoid, which is why here with us at the One-to-One Diet, with the One-to-One Support, you have us as your personal cheerer on us to curb that and help you through the craving, help you through the appetite. Okay. But that's that is pretty much my topic of the week, was just the behaviors and why our body goes into all of these different states and the reason behind these different states. and with a better understanding how we can try and curb it all, and especially with help from your one-to-one consultant. So, expert advice at the top there and helpful hints. So I hope that's been a little bit helpful for you there on the front of the differences in the behaviours of why we behave certain ways. I'm going to get deeper into all this over the next few episodes as well. It's just there is so much going on here with all this that I can't cover it all in one episode. So I will cover some more on next Monday with Martin, and going forward in a few episodes' time, I will also be covering dealing with menopause whilst trying to lose weight, and that because that's our bodies are, I say our, mine ain't, because I ain't going to go through menopause, am I, for goodness sake. But the female body, the chemicals and the different hormones that are being produced whilst going through menopause, and how that makes it more difficult for you girls, you ladies, to lose weight. So I'll be touching on that as well. Okay. But for now, that is the topic of the week. And I'm now going to go over to Recipe of the Week. So, recipe of the week this week is something that's been a long lost recipe for me. It's something I used to make quite a lot. Absolutely gorgeous. Very, very easy to make. Very, very quick to prepare. You're going to absolutely love it. So, here it is. Yes, here we go then, guys. A gorgeous chicken roulade served with Mediterranean vegetables. Step 3 and above. Just 328 calories per serving, at a great cost of £2.19 each. Let's get into it. Alrighty then, to make this recipe, you are going to need 2 small chicken breasts, around 130 grams each, 1 small white onion at approximately 40 grams, and some fresh basil leaves, along with some salt and cracked black pepper. So firstly, to stop our board slipping around, take some kitchen roll, fold it in half, and spray it with some anti-bac spray, and then pop your board on top. This will stop it slipping around whilst we are preparing our food. So we're going to prepare our onion first. Take your onion, peel it, take off the root. We're going to cut this in half, and then we're going to finely slice it. Next, we're going to prepare our chicken breast. So you want to take a piece of greaseproof paper or parchment paper, lay that down on the counter. We're going to then butterfly our chicken. We're going to cover it with some cling film. And then what you want to do is take your meat mallet or your tenderizer. It has a flat side and it also has a dimpled side. We're going to use the flat side because we don't want to pierce through the cling film. And we're just going to gently, from the middle outwards, bash the chicken out until we get it nice and flat. Until we've got it to around this sort of size. So the next thing we're going to do is take our less than 50% low-fat soft cheese. We're going to take 1 teaspoon and spread this nicely across the whole of our chicken breast. Once that's spread out, we're going to take another teaspoon, put this just off center down one side and a nice thick clump. This is going to form the center of our roulade. And grab your onions from earlier, sprinkle half of those across the whole of the breast, and then you want to take about 4 of your fresh basil leaves and just tear them up and sprinkle that all over as well, evenly distributed. It's time to get rolling. So what you're going to do is take the edge of your greaseproof or parchment paper and start rolling. Be sure to tuck that chicken underneath and keep it, you want to keep all the inside in there. So as you're rolling, making sure that you're tucking the filling in along with it. And there you have it. Once it's rolled, we're going to then take some cling film and tightly roll this up. You don't want to trap the cling film in. It needs to be easy to remove. But roll this up in the cling film so it's sealed. And we're going to pop this in the fridge for about half an hour. Alrighty then, onto your veg. So you're going to need 1 medium-sized aubergine, 1 large red onion, 4 medium carrots, and around 10 mini potatoes. Next, we're going to be preparing our carrots, so make sure we give them a good peel. Keep the peelings, give them to a pet rabbit or something, or throw them in the bin. Then what we're going to do is top and tail. And now we are going to cut these up nice and chunky because we're going to be roasting the vegetables. Once we've got our carrots cut up, we're going to take a big pan of hot water, add a big pinch of salt, pop the carrots in there, and then you want to bring these to the boil. Once boiling, reduce to a simmer for 5 minutes. Now for the aubergine, we're going to peel back the greens. Just take the very edges off of it here. Then you want to cut this in half. And then we're going to cut it nice, thick slices for roasting. Once it's cut, we're going to pop this into a bowl, ready to add all our seasoning on there. Now we're going to prepare our onion. So top and tail. And give it a good peel. Once peeled, we're going to chop this up nice and thick and pop that in the bowl, ready for seasoning. Now for the seasoning, you want a good pinch of salt, a good pinch of pepper, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of oregano, and then you want 4 teaspoons of your easy garlic. Now get your hands in there, give it a good mix up to get all that seasoning throughout all those vegetables. And they are now ready to go into an oven dish for roasting. Now you want 4 mini peppers, and to prepare these, we're just going to cut these in half like so. Take out the seeds and the tops. Get rid of those little green stems. And you're going to repeat this for all 4. Once you've done that, we're going to take our deep roasting pan. We're going to pop the peppers into the bottom. Then take the veg from earlier, pop that on there. Now take the baby potatoes and cut those in half and pop them in the pan as well. Then our carrots will be done, so we can drain these off and pop them in. Give it a good shake. Make sure you get all that seasoning round. Mix it up nicely. Then take our low-calorie spray, give it a few squirts all over, and then this is ready for the roasting. About 30 minutes at 170 degrees in a fan-assisted oven. Now then, we're going to take our chicken. It's been in the fridge for half an hour. Unwrap it from the cling film and place these onto a baking tray. I've lined mine with foil to help it not stick and cook better. Once they're lined, we're going to take a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic granules, and we're going to sprinkle this over the both of them like so. Then we're going to take a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, and again we're going to sprinkle this over both the breasts. So it looks like that. And then these are going to go in the oven at 180 degrees for 30 minutes. That's in a fan-assisted oven. And they come out looking like this. Absolutely gorgeous. Take a sharp knife, cut them in half, and just look at this inside. That soft cheese, basil and onion, absolutely gorgeous. Pop these onto a plate. And you're going to serve this with half the veg mix from out of the oven. Sprinkle over some raw onion. And guys, there you have it. Chicken roulade with roasted Mediterranean vegetables. Absolutely delicious. Just 328 calories per serving at £2.19 each. What more could you want? Give it a try. Let us know in the comments. And tune in for more tasty recipes from 1-to-1 Team Thomas. What do we think then, guys? We'll see a couple of things. Vanessa did get to taste test it. Absolutely delicious. Charmaine says mouth-watering. Mate, it's gorgeous. Really, really easy to make. Like I say, you got the rest time of the chicken there, but other than that, it's half an hour cooking time. That took about 5-10 minutes to prepare. Really, really easy, really, really tasty, and very low in calories, and not too expensive. So go and give it a try, and let us know how you got on with it. But oh yeah, I was going to do an announcement at the end. So guys, if you are currently on plan with us, we are currently doing through May a 21-day special. So if you go over to our Facebook, you can have a look at that. That is, well, you should be on Facebook now because you're watching us. But on our page, you'll be able to find out about our 21-day special. Get in touch with us about that. This is a 21-day plan to get you all ready for the summer. And also, those of you that are on plan with us already, we are doing our May giveaway, okay, where you can win some fantastic prizes to keep you on plan throughout the summer. Again, this is detailed on our page, so go and check it out so that you can find out how to enter this giveaway. But that is it from me tonight, guys. Please do remember here at 1-to-1, if you, choose us, because together as one, we can make a slimmer you. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next one.